Welcome back to the Movie Review Teacher, and today we are back reviewing Pressure. Now, this movie releases this weekend. However, Regal did an early access screening for Memorial Day. But before we get any further, thank you to all of our troops serving, that have kept us free all of these years. And your service is greatly appreciated. And thank you for making that ultimate sacrifice. And it does not go unappreciated here. I appreciate everything that you do. I have family members that have served. So for me, it's the one thing where you never talk bad about the military. So thank you for your service on this Memorial Day Monday. And with it being Memorial Day, Regal did an early access screening to the soon-to-be released Pressure. Now, before we get into this movie, I will start off by saying there will be a few spoilers here and there. It's one of those things where we're going to talk about specific things. So if you are somebody that wants to wait, you may want to skip the video. But we're going to get right into it because this movie is a lot different than movies that have been released throughout the times of World War II, World War I, any war that has taken place. Because what we are looking at is 72 hours before the D-Day invasion. And what we have is Eisenhower really relying on his two meteorologists to come in and determine should they invade or should they not invade. And so when you look at this movie from that perspective, I think it gives you an opportunity to see the real preparations that go into the battles, specifically D-Day in this occasion, because this was really the biggest turning point of World War II, especially with the fact that it was the biggest chance to kind of put that final touch on eliminating the Nazi regime throughout Europe. But as you look at this movie is going to focus and center around a man named James Stagg, who is a meteorologist that Winston Churchill thinks is incredible. And he is now brought in to the American side with their meteorologist and Eisenhower really trying to determine what the next steps should be. And so that's where we pick up. I think when you look at the conflict throughout the movie, I think that is what allows this movie to make sense. It flows very well, but it also gives you different storylines that you can follow. So with Stagg, he is going to be going back and forth with a man named Crick, but then he also is going back and forth with General Eisenhower because of the situation of the storms, the weather, how is it going to be, should they delay it? And so I think when you're looking at a war movie, you want to have some of that internal conflict or those conflicts in general because it's going to allow the movie to just flow in different ways, but it ultimately is going to combine together. And the way the movie is paced, I think, is done well, and it gives you a chance to just sit back and understand what is being put on the screen. Now, that also brings us to the next part, and I think this is the significant area of this movie that gives it a chance to flow, and that is the characters. As you watch Brendan Fraser take on Eisenhower, you have Stagg and Crick, you have the lieutenant who is serving as basically Eisenhower's assistant. They all have a specific role that does not extend past what they need it to do. And so when you're looking at overall characters in the movie, there's one specific scene where Stagg kind of ventures off into the woods because of something going on back at home. And you see the lieutenant come to kind of console him, kind of give him that reminder of you are needed here. And so what we have is this group of people that may not see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, they know that they are needed to make this through and make D-Day a successful time. And when you're looking at the screen, you see that. Without them and without the knowledge that they have, they're not going to be able to make this a successful mission. And so for me, as somebody that likes World War II and understands D-Day, it is very high level thinking. There are not a lot of things in this movie that you could say are very surface level. There are things throughout the movie that even as they talked, I did not know what they were trying to say. But it was okay because even in those moments where you don't know what they're trying to say, they bring it back around and give you an opportunity to kind of see what the overall purpose of that message is. Now, let's get to the big part. Do you see the invasion? Do you get to see all of these things? Yes and no. because a lot of this focus throughout the movie, or a lot of the focus, is on should they invade or should they not. And that is where I think a lot of people are either going to really, really enjoy it, or they're going to find it a little bit dull. And for me, I enjoyed it because as you look through the preparation, it leads you to what you know is going to be there. And so what we have here is Stagg, Eisenhower, and Crick coming together, and they must make that final decision. And that leads us to where we insert the battle scene. And the battle scene is shot very, very well. I think they give you an opportunity to see what happened on the front lines, really seeing that if you are one of the first people to storm the beach, you are really going to have a low chance of survival. And that kind of brings it home for why we celebrate this holiday and why we honor our troops the way we do, because what we saw there were casualty after casualty. And I think as you watch the shots of the beach, I think as you watch the shots of the bunker where they were kind of planning things and seeing how things were going, it ties it all together. And I will say this movie was absolutely better than I ever anticipated, because when you look at a movie about World War II, you want fighting, you want strategy, you want all of these different things. You get that in this movie. But what this movie did a great job of was giving you an opportunity to kind of sit back and see the strategy that is needed before war and really the battles. And I think this movie is a success. I know the people, when we were walking out of the theater, were talking about how good it was. There are moments in the movie where you feel somber because of what is going on. But then there are those moments where they try to insert a few little funny things, but it's one of those where it's almost as sarcasm. And that is what makes this movie very, very entertaining. And so for me, when it comes to pressure, this may be a little bit of a bias. Again, this is my subject I teach. This movie is a 4.5 out of 5. This movie was good for an hour and 40 minutes. I love the performances of the characters. Brendan Fraser did an incredible job. There were a few times where I'm like, come on, that's not that believable. But it was done well enough where it kind of regrouped and gave you the opportunity. And so I guess for me, it's one of those movies where if you want to see some of the the planning, I shouldn't say behind the scenes, then this is a movie you're going to enjoy. But if you're wanting just battle after battle and fighting for an hour and a half, you're not going to have this. You may have 15 minutes, but this is a true strategic, high critical thinking film, and I think it was done well. But Pressure releases this Friday. If you have a chance to see it, I do recommend you see it. But thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more reviews coming. Like I said in the last one, it is summer, so there will be more coming. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the continued support. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all later.